Yes, Focus. I am jamming on the jam. Thanks, mate. Yes! Woohoo! My name's Guy Kesteven. I've been a professional mountain bike and kit tester for nearly 25 years. And today, I'm up above Innerleithen and around the whole Tweed Valley area the weekend before Tweed Love for the launch of the brand new Focus Jam Squared 8 limited edition. So, Jam Squared 8 limited edition, 150mm Focus fun bike. So, not as much travel as the big Sam Squared that I reviewed at Hard Rock, but actually very similar angles. 65, 76 on the seat, and then because this is a large 480 reach, so numbers pretty much exactly the same as that Sam, just with less travel, and also even with a 720 watt-hour battery, nearly 2 kilos lighter than the 6.9 with the coil shock. And then you got Schwalbe soft compound tyres either end, Magic Mary classic up front, and then Big Betty rear, so plenty of grip. And you've got the new DT Swiss hybrid wheels as well, so super reinforced steel axle, wheel setup, tougher rims, tougher spokes. Whole thing is set up very well for handling the extra weight and battery of an e-bike, but to be fair, 25 kilos with a battery this big, pretty damn impressive. The weight of it, sorry, I'm being a bit gingy today, riding with a broken rib. Something about coming up to Innerleithen and Peebles that means I can only do it when I'm fractured somehow, but it's not quite a specialised launch. Doing it as my leg, this is a lot easier to manage. Oh, this trail's sick. 448mm back end, so a little bit longer because of the e-bike motor, but certainly not bad at all. And now I'm getting some punch and gravity behind it. Felt a bit tight, did the shock, the fold rear end. Felt like the compression damping was a bit too aggressive, but now I'm getting some weight and momentum behind him. Feels excellent. Loving it through here. Oh, what a mad mushroom world that is. And I haven't chatted about the motor. Shimano steps EP8, so the latest, most powerful Shimano motor. All those handy new tweaks like kind of power run on, everything like that. Whoop, little step out there on my wet tyre. But having plenty of length on it, 48mm reach and that 65-degree head means it's nice and stable. So while it's not the lowest bike, and that battery's not, you know, super drop down low or anything, it's certainly got a decent amount of poise and stability to it, but don't fall into the tapping your pedals on every rise trap either. And the best thing about the new EP8 for photo shoots is walk mode actually works now. Of course, having a 720 watt-hour battery for your steps motor means you've got a lot of exploring or self-uplift potential in this bike. It's actually a custom battery, so it's not as broad and boxy as the Shimano one. Same cells, but just slightly slimmer design. And really enjoying steps. Not really noticing the hammering noise as much as I normally do. And while the motor is Shimano and the battery is Focus's own, what's interesting is that this drivetrain in terms of gears is SRAM, and you've got SRAM code brakes as well, so they're mixing and matching on the stop and go, and then the cranks are actually E13, so there's a lot of mix and match with the components, and it's the same story with the suspension as well. So got RockShox Zeb Select Plus on the front, big 38mm legged charger damper, not the most complicated charger damper, just a Select Plus, and then a Float X2 from Fox on the back. So a piggyback damper, so still up for a fair amount of heat and hammer, and then it's the same fold suspension system across the full Focus platform. It's a slightly different kinematics for each travel segment. So they've actually changed it this year, so the shock mounts on the top tube, so you've got a lot more space on the down tube for a bottle cage. It comes with a little kind of riser arm, bring it off the belly, and then you've also got a neat little kind of bag for a tube and your tool in there as well, little Haribo pouch. And there's some really nice detailing as well, so you know, in that pouch there's a strap to keep everything from banging about. It's got USB-C charge port on the top tube, it's just behind the Shimano power button, so you can charge your Garmin or your vape depending on what you're on. And it's not a lockable battery, but it is removable. And there's a ton of mudroom as well, even with 29 by 2.6 as standard. And again, they've gone for a big chunky tyre spec. You know, I mean, these are Super Trail, but you got to remember that Super Trail from Schwalbe is now a 1300 gram tyre. It's heavier than Super Gravity used to be. So together with those hybrid wheels, that big Z fork, well, this is a properly solid setup, and it's the same through the cockpit as well. Big 35mm race face, 780mm bar, and then 50mm Focus CIS stem. So not hyper reactive, but kind of pretty well balanced considering you've got 65-degree head angle. You know, it's not sweet. There we go. A little bit of front tyre slide to illustrate the fact it's nice and balanced and easy to pull it back. Yeah, a little bit of drift there as you get onto the side knobs. Just sits in really well. It's not super low, but then it's definitely not too high either. And here we are, onto some Tweed Love tape. Tweed Love weekend coming up. We're on the Focus launch. Prior to that, I mean, you'll probably be watching this in December because Focus are waiting until the bikes are available in shops before launching, so you can actually enjoy it and get on. And it's RSC code as well, with a 220mm rotor, so you've got plenty of stopping power on it. But what I'm really enjoying is just, for a big old bike, it doesn't half float really nicely, this bike. So that means even when it's a blue flow trail and you're moving faster than the motor is going to help you with, it's still really fun. Kind of drift, play around, push those pedals. Obviously there's a fair amount of drag from big soft Schwalbe tyres, and it's not the lightest thing, but pedaling's spot on, really well balanced. So I actually thought it was blowing through the travel a bit at first, but kind of settles a bit deeper in the stroke. Though I'm maybe used to on a more progressive bike, but I'm sure you could just fit a few more volume spaces if you want it riding higher. But once you get used to just peeling it in that bit more, getting a bit more mobile with your knees, yep, more Tweed Love tape to really get it kinked in. Because again, you know, 50mm stem As you can see, I've kind of got to caricature the turning. It's not immediately slamming into turns, but then again, makes it more balanced on climbs, kind of more neutral. Doesn't scream rad at you straight away, but once you get into it, it's more than capable. Hitting some serious lines, or like you see here, just flowing and berming, making the most of those sidewalls, those tyres. And then even an eco steps motor got a proper kick to it. Let's follow the tape, see what the enduro's doing this weekend. Yeah, just naturally wants to take good lines and look after you through them. Push and pop and drive and hook and drop in. It's a really easy, nice, there you go. Flick that back end up. It's not so long that you can't have a bit of fun with it. And then into the finish. Woo! And while you'll probably want that 170mm SAM, if you're taking big hits on a regular basis, this is more than happy enough. Handling what I'm happy with, and actually feels like it's a better balanced bike to me in a lot of ways. Obviously, they've had a year more to develop it, and the lead designer on this project, you know, the German Enduro champion, so that dude knows how to make a bike fast. And if you really want to add some clout to it, the fold setup will take a coil shock. It's not just air shock dependent. So if you like the idea of getting a big heavyweight spring in there for maximum pushness, then have at it. It'll do it. But then obviously having a broken rib is something of a dyno in terms of sensitivity to impact, and while it does feel quite tight and clipped over smaller bumps, it's quite a tight, accurate feel, certainly under power. There's no shortage of traction, and it handles rollers and square edges so far really, really nicely. Not done any massive bouldery stuff, but even when you're clattering through routes like that, it doesn't stand you up or anything. Just staying nicely centered on the bike. It's just pretty much drama free through everything. But with that ability, steady, to stay on the bars if you want. And like I say, no shortage of accuracy at all. But it's one of those bikes that just makes you take the lines you wish you'd taken normally. First time, I don't know, it just seems to, either it's making me ride well today, or it just seems to ride well in itself, you know. Fun bike, really fun bike. And obviously things like SRAM Axis wireless I've already talked at length about. Big fan of them. SRAM Code brakes, big fan of them. DT Swiss hybrid wheels, oh, superb piece of kit, just pretty much indestructible. I mean, I've told the story about mates of mine ripping multiple spokes out of sets and still getting home and them still being straight, and it's just that kind of fail-safe build all the way through this bike. And it's got 150 kilo system weight limit. That's huge. That's a big heavy rider. Let's go then. So following Neil from Focus now. Just, yeah, properly. I mean, this trail's always fun to ride, but it really shows off how much it is relatively easy to just swing this bike around and pilot it. Your weight feels like it's in the right place, and when it does drift, it drifts really controllably, flicks nicely around to the other side of the turn. Just like I say, it just makes you feel like you're riding really, really well, which is a glorious experience. So, Golfie in Leithen, and I'm ashamed to say, never actually ridden here. So really looking forward to it, especially as I'm really getting into this bike. I was riding a large this morning, but on a medium now. Oh, into the dark section then. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, all the angles and everything are the same. It's just the reach is a bit shorter on this 460mm rather than 480. And all the bikes we've been riding are set up low. There's actually a flip chip on them to keep you between half a degree either way on seat and head angle, and obviously drop them down a little bit as well. It's not a massive difference, but it's just enough to get them flicked around. And interestingly, going back to differences between this Jam and the Sam, well, I was surprised that the Sam, even though it's the longer travel, heavier hitting bike, doesn't have any protection around that Bosch motor on the belly of it. This Shimano motor on the Sam has a load more protection, even though it's the lighter bike. So again, I'm just, hey, back end's popping around a bit. Jim's got a bit more rebound on than I have, but he's leaving me for dead down here. And he's from Warncliffe, so he knows all about the steep and route stuff. But really glad I've got Magic Mary on the front. It's a tyre you can properly rely on. And again, those code brakes got plenty of stopping power in them. But it's just really well, still just really well balanced. Like, even though you can tell I've slowed down talking, I'm getting on the edge. Same crash that did me ribs also did me left quad. So that's kind of a rhubarb and custard colour at the moment, and it's yeah, it's sore on descents this long, I'm not gonna lie, but wow, I can see why people rave about the trails here. Whew. But I'm glad I'm on a bike this sorted. Come on, kids, just relax, let it run a little bit. But I mean, that fold suspension is essentially a single pivot just above, or kind of level with the chainring, and slightly above, sorry, slightly behind it. So it's the linkage, that kind of double slip over linkage that's driving the shock, that's making all the difference. And it feels really supple. What? Onto the nutsack then. Come on, leg. Hold up, drop your heel, guys. Drop your heel. Oh, this is intense. This enduro lark is not for the faint-hearted, is it? Whew. Oh, actually a bit of a rest. And again, I mean, it's stiff as this bike, but I'd say with this Zeb on, just the right side of precise without being punishing. That 38 on the Sam is actually beating me up a fair amount, whereas hello, woohoo, a lot more forgiving. That was sick, man. freshly mown section. Oh, hello. Doesn't mean I can stay on it. Oh, here we go again. Ah, this is... Yeah, come on guys. Keep flowing, keep flowing. I was lying, by the way. This isn't a medium, it's a large. Oh, it's fantastic along here. Really flowing. Whew. Come on, Ribbit, you're fine. Stop whinging. Impressive. Yeah. And not nearly as much noise as customary from the Shimano battery. From the Shimano EPO motor. Seems to vary a lot from bike to bike. But in terms of spec, this is really, really sorted. Pretty much everything you're going to want from an e-bike for doing this kind of riding. I mean, probably overkill for light trail stuff, but well, definitely overkill for a lot of trail stuff. But then, you know, the beauty of a big motor like this is you can get yourself to areas you wouldn't normally get to, and also get a bunch of runs in and actually improve enough. And I just love the way it's surprisingly skippy as well. Through there I was actually flicking it through some pretty tight lines. Woo! Just smashed the bridge. Oh, that was sick. Blah, cheating, blah blah. Far too easy across country. And here we are at stage 4. This is ready. Right, see how fast Jim can drop me on the sand this time. Oh, he's not doing bad already. Oh, I think this is going to be a rocky, obviously fresh cut. Oh, one thing I haven't mentioned, CIS stem. New Focus, integrated cable, stem setup, super neat. Tucks all the cable's noses into the front of the stem. Looks like something out of Pirates of the Caribbean, but oh, so sweet. Oh, that was awesome. And also, this fork had loads of low speed compression on, so got rid of all of that. Feeling a lot better now. Dropped a bit of tyre pressure too. So, traction's better. Not getting quite as battered on the front end either. There we go. And you've got so much airspace. Oh, hello. In these Schwalbe tyres. You can run them 20 psi. Like I say, these hybrid wheels, so bloody strong. It's just so well spec for an e-bike, this. Feels like that I've used that year of experience with the SAM to get big rotors on there, the big brakes, the right wheels. Oh no, no, it's all right, still on the track. Oh, fluff it then. It's just really well balanced. You know, because normally an e-bike with all the extra weight of it can be a right handful on super steep stuff like this, because obviously it's more bike to stop, it's more bike to turn, and it's not like this is bermed or anything. Truth. Glad I've been doing my press ups recently, but my rib is letting me know about this. Line in. Come on. Watch through. Oh, look at the light. Come on, guys. Nearly there. Yes, mate. That's truth. Whoa! Catch. We're glad of that. Yes, focus. I am jamming on the jam. Thanks, mate. Yes! Woohoo! I mean, I'm smashing back up the fire road. Like, 5th run of the day. 20 kilometres an hour. Shallow breathing with a broken rib. In eco. Dropping in again with Jim. And also, one thing I haven't mentioned, I think, well, for me certainly, I think 150 mil is a real sweet spot, because certainly with chassis as stiff and capable as this, it's just, presuming your suspension, set the suspension up, it's just much less kind of pitch and dive than there is with a longer travel bike. It's just, the geometry is just that bit more consistent. Oh, this is going to punish me, but I mean, needing a bigger hit. But not so far. Come on, Ruben, let's look a bit further. What's Jim doing? Jim knows what he's doing on this. These trails are immense. Not talking much though, am I? So, I mean, summary time, I guess. I've kind of gone through all the details, gone through the hidden cable routing, the neat USB-C port, the absolutely awesome spec. I mean, pricing, who knows what it'll be when they actually are available in December, but currently 7.3, which for an Axis spec e-bike with a really big capacity battery and a really sweet, clean, integrated design with lots of practical touches. That's pretty cock on. Oh, way up. So yeah, summary, I'm loving it. Absolutely loving this Jam Squared. I think it's a proper great all-round e-bike. Oh, and there we are, at the end. Just in time. Nice one, Joe. Boom. Well, as a first day on a bike, that's got to be super positive in terms of spec, in terms of just how balanced the handling is. Really, really impressed. I mean, it's no, you know, it's not a lightweight kind of skip over cross-country trail bike. You know, this is it's spec'd and it rides like a proper heavy hitter. This is a proper pinning machine, but just in a really friendly kind of look after you sort of way, not threatening, doesn't feel like you have to learn it or be an ace with suspension setup. It's just really, really forgiving all the way around. Every bit of the spec, every bit of the shock tune, the kinematic, everything. And there's also a bunch of nice practical features on it as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to ride it some more. I'm going to do a tech talk round on it as well. I'll probably just keep this riding footage because hopefully it'll look great and just throw some more captions or more input over the top of it. But anyway, I'm rambling on. What you need to know is massive thanks to Focus and Jim and Neil and the guys for lending me the bike today, and I'm taking it home, and I've got the alloy jam as well, so make sure you watch the video on that, and the carbon jam, which is a new carbon bike, carbon front end similar to this bike. So there's a whole series of jam bikes from Focus, and I'll be doing videos on all of them. But yeah, thanks to Giro Cycling for sponsoring the channel. Thanks to PTs, thanks to Crud as well. Thanks to DMR for the pedals. Massive thanks to the Glentress Hotel for looking after us today. Go see
Murray there always does a fantastic job. You know, great food, great accommodation, right on the doorstep of Glentress. Brilliant place to stay if you're coming up to Tweed Valley and Peebles. And huge thanks to my Patreon supporters who pay a small monthly pledge to support the channel, to let me take time out from my other work to do testing like this, and yeah, create these videos for you. And they get exclusive, early and extended ad-free edits as a thank you, and they'll be getting probably the full-length version of this with all the spills and squeals and sketchiness before you guys see it on general YouTube. But for now, yeah, if you're not into Patreon, then please click for notifications, subscribe, give this a thumbs up, tell your mates about the channel, share it that way. And yeah, for now, I've been Guy Kestevan on Guy Case TV, talking about the brand new Focus Jam Squared 8.0 Limited. Proper belter of a hardcore e-bike. Loved riding this on some of the most hardcore trails in the country. Not bad for an old man with a broken rib and a knackered leg. If it can look after me here, then, you know, it's sorted.